All right, hi. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the best podcasting setup for under or around $500. And I'm making this video because I got a question from one of my podcast listeners. He said he's interested in starting a podcast, but he's not sure about a setup. He's already got a MacBook Pro, which he likes, but he wants to record into some kind of portable recorder and then download the files onto his laptop. He says he needs two microphones because there will always be two people on the podcast. Maybe not always, man, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. He says his budget is around $500, but he can be flexible, which means I guess that he can spend a little bit more if it's worth it. So can you help? Yes, I can help, John. Thank you so much for asking that question. All right, so let's lay down the ground rules before we get started. So around $500, I'm going to say you want something that sounds good because you can get a podcasting setup for much, much cheaper, but you want to sound good. You want to sound professional. You want a portable recording device, which I think is a great idea. It's nice to have an audio interface that you can plug microphones in that plug into your laptop, but it is nice to also be able to take your little recording device anywhere. So we'll talk about that too. Two microphones, and you've already got a laptop. So if you're watching this and you're going to buy some of this stuff, I'm not going to talk about laptops. Most laptops are pretty solid these days. I prefer Macs, and even old used Macs that you can get for a couple $100 will work fine for this gear. So let's talk about me for just a second so you understand, who are you? Why are you talking about podcasting gear? So my name is Aaron Dowd, and I call myself the podcast dude. I've been a professional podcast editor since about 2012, so about 4 years now. I've helped dozens, if not hundreds of people start podcasts and improve their podcasts. So it's been a passion of mine for a long, long time. And you can go back to the first episode of my podcast at thepodcastdude.com to learn more about my story. But I've edited shows I've edited podcasts that have tens of thousands of listeners, shows for the seanwes network, for 5x5. And actually, I can show you the websites. Let's switch over right here. So these are some of the shows on the seanwes network that I currently edit. They're all great shows. Like 5x5. I love Back to Work, so it was really cool to get to work on that. So I worked for them for, I think it was about a year. Anyways, what else? The Dribbble podcast, the Change Log, Shop Talk Show, just a bunch of great shows, especially in web design and development and business. Lots of great shows. And I produced over 70 episodes of my own podcast about podcasting, which I called The Podcast Dude. Long story, but yeah, that's me. And I've done tons of podcast episodes myself, hundreds of episodes with various shows. So that's a little bit more about me. And I think about podcasting a lot. I want to help people make great shows that sound good, shows that are engaging, help them build communities around their podcast. So let's jump into the gear. So what I recommend, and before we jump in, I will say, if a lot of this gear seems expensive, you can get a lot of it used, especially the interfaces, the recording devices, and the microphones. I buy all my stuff used. This microphone, got it used. This little Zoom interface recording device that I'm going to talk about here in a second, I got it used. Pretty much anything you can get used, and it's great. Guitar Center, Amazon, eBay, Craigslist, whatever. Just be careful when you buy, All right, so let's start with the interfaces. Zoom H4n or Zoom H6. So these are little portable handheld interfaces that, the H4n has 2 inputs, which is great, and the H6 has 4 inputs, so you can plug up to 4 microphones. And the H4n is $188. The H6 is $300. Again, you can get them cheaper used. I like both of these. I've had both of these. I currently have the H6 right now, and it's a great little interface / recording device, portable recording. And I say interface because you can actually use a USB cable that's included when you buy one of these, or it should be, or you can just buy one on Amazon. They're cheap. And you can actually plug it into your computer and plug the microphones in and record straight to something like GarageBand on your computer, or you can just take this thing out and plug some microphones into it and record straight onto an SD card. And that's awesome. So these are cool little microphones. They also come with stereo condenser mics on the top, as you can see right here. And so if you want to go record a concert, or if you don't want to bring any microphones, you just want to set this up and record, works great. They're really super cool. I like them. So as far as the interface goes, I would start with one of those. Next, for the microphones, this, hands down, and I've listened to, edited, mixed and mastered for, and tested out a bunch of different podcasting microphones, especially everything under the $1,000 range, because once you get up to $500, $800, $1,000, like it all sounds good. It just like minor details about what you like. This Shure Beta 87A, which is what I'm using right now, I got it used for $150, I think. Sounds awesome. Like so good, so good. And I've tried more expensive microphones like the Shure SM7B, and I've heard some of the other $300, $400, $500 microphones. This one sounds awesome, and it rejects a ton of background noise. So like if I stand off to the side, you're barely going to hear me. And that's great for when you're having a bunch of people in a room, or if there's like room noise, anything else. Great microphone. Like I said, $250 new, or you can get it used for less, especially on guitarcenter.com. Okay, next, if you want to spend a little bit less money, because I know that's a lot, $250 for a microphone when you're starting out. The Shure SM58, very similar, rejects a lot of background noise, has a nice little pickup pattern that only picks up what's right in front of it, is $100. You can also get these for about $40, $50 used. Great, solid little microphones. Like they're built so well, they're reliable, they last, it's great. The PG48, which is a cheaper version of the SM58, still a good mic, still will sound good, not as rugged, should still be reliable, may not sound quite as good, but I've had people tell me, I haven't tested this one yet, but I've had people tell me that this is a good sounding mic, sounds very close to the SM58, which is a great sounding mic. Okay, you'll need some kind of XLR cable, a microphone cable, to plug your microphone into your recorder device or your interface. So I recommend the 10-foot cable from Monoprice, and you can get this for $7. You'll also need some earbuds, headphones. You'll need some headphones to wear while you record so you can hear what you sound like. So you want to make sure that you're not too far away from a microphone, but also not eating it, not up too close. And you probably want to be able to hear what the other person sounds like too. So $10 earbuds, Panasonic earbuds. I use these all the time for recording and mixing. I've got more expensive headphones for home, but you don't need that to do a podcast. These little guys, $10, work great. They won't last longer than 8 months or a year, but for $10, it's fine. If you want to spend a little bit more and get some ones like this, these $30 ATH M20X headphones, solid, great. You'll need some kind of headphone splitter most likely because your Zoom interfaces / recorders only have one headphone jack. So you want to plug that in and then use the splitter so you can run some headphones out to you and some headphones out to your buddy or your guests. All right, after that, you'll probably want to pick up some extension cables for your headphones, just in case. Just if you're sitting far away from someone, you'll need longer cables. So these are 6 feet. Maybe you need 12 feet, 25 feet. I don't know. Get whatever. And then you need some kind of stand. Now, I have a stand that's like this newer suspension boom arm, and it just clips to a little like tabletop thing that I have on my desk. And I can position it. It's not super high quality, but it was like $15. And I tried to find this model and I couldn't. I don't think it's for sale on Amazon anymore. But here's a similar one. And this one will actually come with a couple of different mounts. And it comes with a pop filter, which is very important. You always want to use a pop filter so you don't get these nasty popping sounds that you might have heard on other recordings. That just sounds nasty. So just use a pop filter. It helps with the sibilances and the plosives. So this $20, you can find other similar ones, or you could go with something like one of these like regular mic boom stands. It's kind of just depends on what you need. If you want a stand that you can put on a table, you could get something like this $8 little guy that comes with a pop filter. That's cool, but with these kind of mics, the mics I recommended, you want to be pretty close to them. You want to be like 3 or 4 inches away from them. And if it's sitting down on a desk, you have to turn the input gain on that mic channel way up to pick up a decent level, because you don't want to record too quiet or too hot. But if you're far away, you have to turn it up, and then that'll pick up a lot of the room sound, and it'll pick up the other person talking, and that's not ideal. So if you're not going to be in a situation where you or your guest can get up this close with a little desktop stand, then I'd say invest in something more like one of these boom arms that I mentioned a second ago, or something like this stage rocker, where you have a little bit more flexibility to extend it, to get a little bit closer to your mouth. And then, of course, with this, does not come with a little clip that goes and holds the microphone, so you'll have to either buy that or get some other kind of option and a pop filter and all that kind of stuff. So just be aware of those things. Okay, so now we talked about gear. Let's talk about the recording / editing software. For most people that have a Mac, GarageBand is either included or it's cheap. I think it's like $5, maybe $15. I don't know what it is anymore, but it works fine. Great little program, especially for getting started. I like Logic myself, more about that in a second. You could also invest $60 and get Reaper, which is a little bit more of it's like a professional recording software, but it's definitely more powerful, maybe a little bit more confusing. There's more of a learning curve, but it can do everything that you'll need, and it's only $60. The other common, you've probably heard people talk about Audacity. I think Audacity looks like crap. I hate the way it looks. It looks cheap. It's kind of frustrating to use. I mean, it looks like a Windows program from the 90s, and that's no fun. But it works. I mean, there's upsides and downsides to it. The upsides, it's free. The downsides, looks like crap. Kind of hard to work with. Whatever. I personally use Logic Pro X, and it is expensive at $200, but it was a great investment for me. And once I learned it and learned some of the shortcuts, it is awesome for editing podcasts. I can fly through editing podcasts. There's all kinds of templates you can set up, keyboard shortcuts. You can edit multiple tracks at the same time, move things around. It's just I want to say a word that I can't say. It's a great program, and I love it to death. So that's a huge investment. All right, so I hope that was helpful. I think that you can get away with spending about $500 if you pick and choose carefully between these different options that I've selected. And I'm going to drop links to all of this stuff down in the notes below in the description, the video description. So I will say next steps, if you want to learn more about this stuff, subscribe, check out my other videos. Head over to thepodcastdude.com. You can listen to my podcast on iTunes, and that's fantastic. Download that to your phone. There's a bunch of free episodes. Sign up for my email newsletter while you're over there. That's hard to say. I'm actually going to be launching a bunch of podcasting courses soon, so let me just give you a sneak peek of that. Secrets here. So I got one called Successful Podcasting that's like the whole thing, like everything about starting a podcast, just like 75 video lessons and a bunch of other stuff. That's going to be awesome. And that one's going to include 2 other screencast courses rather. One about Logic Pro X, where I talk about everything about Logic recording, mixing, mastering, editing. Basically, I teach you everything I know so you can be like really super fast and awesome at making podcasts that sound great easily inside of Logic. And then also one called Podcasting with GarageBand, which is just more of a general like how to get started, how to record, edit, produce, and export a show, like the basics. But eventually if you get comfortable with that, then you can step up to something like Logic. But I think all of these courses, you're really going to enjoy it. So head over to thepodcastdude.com, sign up to get notified of that stuff. Whew. And let me know if you have any questions. If you have any questions about gear or anything else, I've got some other videos about various topics about podcasting. I'm going to be doing more in the future, so definitely subscribe. But just leave any questions you got in the comment section below. And I hope this was helpful, and best of luck, and have a great day. That's it. I'm out of here. Bye.